What's happening with OPEC is really one piece of a larger picture that we're painting.
They're turning off the taps, for oil that is. Less than a week after Alberta announced it would be slashing oil production, OPEC countries have decided to do the same starting in the new year. The decision would automatically raise our oil prices for the time being.
The OPEC cuts are something that are going to take place for a set and defined period of a few months, so it may have a short-term impact. But what's going to impact our oil industry over the long term are the conditions that happen here in the country. What's happening with OPEC is important today, but it's not even nearly as important as what's happening with the Senate this week, where they're deliberating Bill C-69.
On Friday, OPEC and its allies reached a deal to cut oil production by 800,000 barrels a day from global markets. Russia, who is not part of the organization, will slash an additional 400,000 barrels daily.
When OPEC does slash production, the oil prices do increase. So there is actually a successful record of using this as a technique to change the oil prices. Russia is also a major oil producer and has worked with OPEC in the past as well on cuts. There were cuts that took place in 2016, and Russia was part of that as well. So they do have a history of working together.
OPEC is comprised of 15 countries, a handful of them being in the Middle East. Iran, Venezuela, and Libya have been granted exemptions from the curtailment. Orenstein says while OPEC's short-term oil production will temporarily help Alberta's oil prices, it's just a small piece of a much larger, more complex puzzle of the province's economy.
What's happening with OPEC and Russia is important. What happens in the United States is also important. They're not things that we can greatly influence, but what we can influence is what's happening here at home in terms of creating the political and regulatory certainty that will allow the industry to prosper over the long term.
In Calgary, Brittany Rosen, City News.